everyone, good morning. This is Mary. You're watching another little piece of my art. So, with the joys of filming, you have missed the beginning of this because, yeah, my phone turned off. So, that's always fun. So, what else I was telling you in this video was actually a few things. We'll start with how I started before. So remember on the coloring book journal, this I told you guys to pick out a cover, and I was saying I'm using this placemat. So the first thing that I wanted to do was make a line. So I folded the placemat in half and kind of made sure that, you know, the crease was easily seen so that I would be able to draw this line. I just took my ruler and my Sharpie, wherever it went, and drew this line. Now, I used a permanent marker, but only because I knew that, you know, with this double ply and whatever is in the middle here, this interfacing stuff, I knew that you wouldn't be able to see my Sharpie through the fabric. So, you know, keep that in mind if you're going to do your cover. You know, make sure you realize what it is you're marking on to see, make sure that it's not going to go through. Because if it is, you might want to use a, well, you could use a water-based marker, or you could use like quilting chalk, or, you know, a quilting pencil, whatever it is that you do markings with, you know, that would be up to you. So, the next thing I was showing you is, I will undo it now. Oh, Lord. So, I was telling you before, when you're going to do your signatures, to find you some clips to make sure that nothing shifts. You don't need clips large enough to pick your car up by, but this is all I could find. So, you know, whatever you have that will clip on there so things don't shift around. So here's the signature that I'm going to use for the middle. So I'm going to put him in first and build around him in front and behind, because you see, this much gap here is going to start filling up as the spine fills up and gets wider. So as you're putting your signatures in, you're actually making this shorter. When I get to the point where it's getting too short, I may either stop putting signatures in, or I may add a little bit of material on the edges here to make it even wider. So that's something to consider when you're doing this. Now, a lot of bookbinding tutorials will tell you to do whatever you're going to do to your cover first, but I'm not going to do that because, like, let's say I wanted to put a pocket on here. As I'm building my signatures, I have no way of knowing where the center is going to be until it's completed. So if I was thinking that this was the center, and then I put a pocket right here, or a pocket on the inside right there, and then as I'm building my signatures and making the book fatter, the pocket is going to look off center. So I don't do that. I wait until, now if you're running it through a sewing machine, you know, that might be something you want to consider as well. Like, but I'm going to be hand sewing my closure on, so I don't need to worry about the book being attached to the cover when I'm finished and I need to embellish it. So there's that. Now I added, this is one of the signatures that I showed you from the last video. I'll link the other videos in, and then, you know, they should chain up for you. But if you're new, you're wondering, why am I doing this? The reason that I'm doing this is because I like to have a book that sort of sits by my bed at night. Also, it's one that I would probably take with me when I go to New Jersey in the summer, because it will have coloring pages in it, but it will also have other pages in it that I can write on and sketch on and watercolor on. And so I wanted an all-inclusive book. That way, because of my extreme laziness, if I'm in my bed, I don't have to keep getting up and getting different things. Like, it's all right there. It's not going to be, this is an art journal and a coloring book, but it's not going to be something that, you know, you would display as your finished work. It's just basically for you. So that's why I'm doing this project, and I've used a book that, a very inexpensive book that I don't mind tearing apart. So, okay, so in my this middle signature that we're doing, This is the middle of the book. So in here I have the original page, and of course that is attached to this side because signatures are just folded in half pieces of paper. Okay, so we have that. I added a piece of watercolor paper in there because, like I said, I wanted to be able to watercolor on it if I want to. If I go to my friend's house in New Jersey and we're sitting on the deck and I see something, you know, pretty, I might want to, she has a lot of birds and things. She lives sort of in a rural area. So I might want to sketch something and watercolor, and it's all going to be right here. So I put that page in between this lady and this dandelion. I guess that's a dandelion. The leaves look like a dandelion. I put it in between there because those pictures, while they sort of match, like they don't have to be next to each other, as opposed to something like this. So I wouldn't slip a page. You can, but I wouldn't slip another page in between here because that would break up this page. So this page went together, you know, the ships and then these green paper boats, but it wasn't that much of a big deal to me, so I did slip in another piece of paper here. This is just a piece of paper from a Five Below sketchbook that I don't care for that much. I mean, I use it, but this paper is kind of like children's coloring book paper or construction paper. Not even as thick as construction paper. It just has that texture. But you never know when you're out if you want to write something down. A lot of times, my husband loves to people watch. A lot of times we'll go somewhere and, you know, I'll just be listening to someone's conversation and something they say amuses me. Or, you know, maybe you're out somewhere and someone tells you, well, you know, you got to see this movie or you got to look up this song or whatever. It's just nice to have paper to jot things down because I am one who will actually write that sort of thing on my coloring book page. And then, you know, which is kind of cool looking too, but you might not want to do that. You might want to keep all your pages pristine, so that's why it's nice to add this other stuff in there. And then this is one of the signatures that we made, or that I showed that I had made in the last video, or the one before that, I can't remember now, which is just two pictures from a coloring book, tattoo coloring book. I washi taped them together and then folded them in half so that now when this opens, I have a whole page here. Like, suppose that my friend and I are out sightseeing. I want to write down what I saw. I want to write down what happened. I want to sketch something. This is thin paper, so that's why, you know, I added the sketchbook paper and the watercolor paper so that if I really was going to town sketching, I'd have something decent in here as well. So that is what I have making this first signature. Okay, now when you get all your pages together, you're going to want to make sure that they are even. Of course, the small pages will not be clipped because they're small. So that's okay. We can get by with just stabbing it with our pokey tool and running our thread through it, and it'll be fine later, I promise. So once you get the bottom lined up, hold it with your hand and clip it. So that it's not going to move. Clip it and lock it like that. All right. Now you got that, and you can't see because I have just this phone on a tripod here, but I'm going to clip the top right there. Okay. So that's what I'm doing now. Clipping the top. Now you should have everything. This is making this buckle a little bit. Well, you know what? I'm going to take this clip off because it's just too big for this project, but I'm going to leave the bottom one on. So if you're going to do this, find some normal size clips. This will work fine for what I'm doing. All right, so now you have the middle, right? And on the other side, of course, is where the book was originally bound. The holes from where it was originally sewn into the book. Can you see them? Can you see what I see? Okay, so there they are. You probably can't see them, but I promise you they're there. Once you have things clipped together, you're going to want to poke through those holes because you're adding paper that wasn't there before. right? You're adding extra things. All right, so I'm using this pokey tool from the Dollar Tree. It's made by Crafter Square. I suggest picking some up if you can, because pokey tools don't stay sharp, forever, because you are poking it through things and it's going to dull up. So I'm going to get another couple sets, because you never know at the Dollar Tree how long they're going to have things, but they're nice to have. You can use these for a variety of projects. Now be very careful. I have my fingers under here. You want to be very careful that you don't poke yourself in the hand, because pokes hurt. They really do. Anytime you make a hole in your body, it's a lot worse than a scrape. So, I'm just going to go through here. It's a little bit of a, it has some resistance, because you have that washi tape, which is basically like plasticized paper. So, you're going to have a little bit of a resistance. Just try to keep your hand out of the way and poke through. Of course, the more paper you have, the harder that's going to be. So you might want to think about that when you make your signatures, not making them too huge. Okay, so I have all of my holes poked. All of them poked. Now, we're not going to sew today. I don't know if I said this, but this is Thursday. Yeah, so I don't film on the weekends, because everyone's home for one thing, and also work on the weekends. So I won't be filming this weekend. What I plan on doing is sewing in the first signature before I come back for the next episode, so that I can make sure that I'm doing. It's been a while since I've bound a book, so I'm going to make sure that my stitches are the right way. I will draw up a little pattern so that you know how this works, and then we can do one on video. The next signature we can do on video together, but I want to do the first one without you, so because if I mess up or say the wrong thing, I don't want anybody doing what I did. So I just have some. This is the wax linen thread I was telling you about. You can definitely feel the wax to it, and that helps things slide through easier. It also makes this very strong. I mean, if you sat here and tried to break this, I can't. But yeah, so I picked a color that would coordinate with my placemat. I have several colors. You could just get black or white if you don't want to have a bunch of this laying around. I just happened to come across it on a really good deal. I can't find my bookbinding needle that I always like to use, so I found this one in my crafting stuff. I think this is a beading needle, or maybe a doll making. I can't remember what this is for. It's kind of long for this, but it's going to have to do, because that's all I could find right now. Unless I come across it between now and the next video, this is what I'm going to use. You don't want to use a really skinny, short needle, because first of all, you're not going to be able to get the thread through the eye of it. And second of all, it just really makes hard work out of this, because you drop it and it just seems so fine. So you want to have some kind of a substantial needle to work your pages into your bindings. So I'm going to stop there, and this will be the last thing I have for this week, and I will see you guys next week. So if you have any questions, or if I didn't explain things right, please let me know. I try to be as simple as I can, but then sometimes, you forget that other people have never done this before, maybe have no idea what you're talking about. So if you're confused, drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much for your likes, shares, subscriptions, and have a wonderful weekend, guys. Bye-bye.